Welcome to Babblecom 5. This is episode 14 of season 2 of Babylon 5, There All the Honour Lies. Time for some merchandising apparently, which is ironic as there actually wasn't that much for the show. It's a money-making scheme to ease budgetary pressures apparently. The last best hope for a quick buck. We're not some deep space franchise, says Ivanova. Ho ho ho. As Sheridan leaves for a lesson with Kosh, apparently not the first. Having left Ivanova in charge of the prototype gift shop, the Babylon Emporium, someone bumps into him. Apologies are exchanged, but Sheridan then realises his link has been stolen. He pursues the thief, but is then attacked by a warrior caste Minbari who throws him onto the floor next to a PPG, which Sheridan grabs, shooting his assailant. As he tumbles to a lower deck, another Minbari stands witness to the exchange. For obvious reasons, this is a serious incident, and Delenn says that her government has asked her to run a parallel investigation with Mr. Garibaldi's to ascertain the facts. Apparently the warrior caste Minbari was unarmed, but of course Sheridan had no way to know that. The unidentified witness is just that, unidentified. So now the question is whether it was self-defense or murder. Veer takes a call for Londo that we don't see the details of, before we cut to Garibaldi attempting to interview a Minbari witness, who Lanier is quick to come to the aid of. He tells Sheridan this has been happening a lot. Franklin's autopsy on the attacker neither proves nor disproves anyone's side of events. Garibaldi reasons that the reason Sheridan's link was stolen despite it becoming worthless immediately thereafter was because the thief knew it was something that Sheridan was likely to chase after. He also knows that it was very convenient that a PPG just happened to be lying on the ground in the middle of the fight. Garibaldi smells setup. The PPG serial number has yet to be traced, but he says a warrior caste Minbari wouldn't be caught using one, so it wasn't his. A seemingly inebriated Veer bumps into Talia near the Babylon Emporium, saying he can't stay, which he seems to find funny, much to Talia's amusement. In Delenn's quarters, the witness sits. Ashan is of the third Fane of Jojomo, like Lanier. He's the Minbari who witnessed the attack. His opening gambit is calling Delenn a freak, not another Minbari, and he will not answer her questions. Delenn leaves the room, and he says he will answer Lanier's questions, but from what Lanier then reports, it seems he's been fed a pile of lies. Sheridan says Lavelle, the victim, said death first, but Lanier says he said something in Minbari that sounds similar and means I surrender, and so the stitch-up continues. When Sheridan accuses the witness of lying, we are reminded just how seriously Minbari take telling the truth. Delenn says she will pretend she did not hear the accusation and tells Lanier to do the same, because for an outsider to call a Minbari a liar is basically the same as calling them out. But Sheridan still wants to talk to the witness. Ivanova investigates the new store and is bemused by both a human taking off an alien mask and a Drazi taking off a human mask. I believe at least some of the merchandise on display is actual merchandise that was produced for the show, because of course there were no physical Star Fury or station models. Ashan is openly hostile to Sheridan and immediately calls him out as Star Killer, harking back to his established war record, and of course one of the reasons he was a controversial choice to command the station from the Minbari side. Fear not, however, for backup has arrived. A lawyer, none other than the original Natoth actress, out of her Narn makeup. Proceedings break up following her arrival, and it's apparent that Delenn knows this isn't right, having studied Sheridan's character, so something else is afoot. The lawyer gives it to Sheridan straight. Earth is in favour of a trial, because anything else smacks of cover-up. She doesn't think there's enough evidence against him, but whatever the verdict, it would be unlikely that he could continue in command of Babylon 5. Ivanova tries to offer some solace as Sheridan begins to question his own actions. She leaves his quarters, only to be replaced with Kosh, who ignores Sheridan's protests about it being a bad time, and says that his frame of mind actually makes it a perfect time for the lesson that he was previously scheduled for. Sheridan grudgingly follows him out the door. Garibaldi has Zack tail Ashan, subtle-like. Kosh has taken Sheridan to the grottiest part of Down Below to show him one moment of perfect beauty. Sheridan crouches into the crawl space Kosh has opened and sits cross-legged with a cloaked figure who says nothing but proffers a bowl. Sheridan explains he was sent and has no hard currency, but then realises that perhaps an offering is all that's required and removes his rank bar. The offering is accepted, and the light shifts, and more figures begin chanting in chorus as Sheridan listens and watches, and Kosh waits in the squalor outside, listening to the song. Londo catches up with Veer on all of his second drink. He likes to nurse them. Basically, Veer's family saw his posting here as a joke, a job for which there was very little competition. That was 2 years ago. Now he feels burdened by Londo's secrets, yet unable to speak out about anything, never quite fitting in, and now to add to his woes, the Imperial Court wants to replace him with a better model because of Londo's elevated status. Londo says he wishes him to stay and seems sincere enough, but Veer is still conflicted. In the background, a ranger passes by. Londo goes to follow Veer as he leaves, but is distracted by giggling about a doll that bears a striking resemblance to him. Sheridan thanks Kosh for the experience, and as he swaps places with Ivanova in the lift, she notes that the lessons are working. Sheridan is starting to speak like a Vorlon. Delenn has uncovered something about Lavelle's heritage that she shows to Lanier, who appears shocked. Ashan is trying to meet with the thief who stole Sheridan's link, but as Zack is keeping tabs on him, he is knocked unconscious by Lanier from behind. Lanier then challenges Ashan about his actions and demands that he reveal the truth before he brings shame on the clan Djomo, saying that he follows Delenn because she is honourable. Londo finds Sheridan to complain about the under-equipped doll, and lets slip that Minbari do in fact lie, which Sheridan pounces on. Londo explains that Lanier once lied to save his honour, which we saw in the first season, which means that Sheridan now needs to figure out whose honour might be at stake, as Ashan is lying. Sheridan learns that Ashan is being recalled to the Minbari homeworld so that there can be no trial, but notes to Delenn as they speak in the garden that that will destroy his credibility because there will be no resolution to the matter. He is reminded of the time during the war when he was adrift in his fighter, all alone in the night, a callback to an earlier episode title, saying he never felt so helpless. Delenn says there is something worse, being all alone in a crowd, which is how Ashan has been making her feel, of course, all episode. She agrees that Minbari do lie because service is in their nature, and there is no greater service than saving the honour of another. Sheridan says that's all well and good, but how can you build a strong racial legacy by protecting small acts of dishonour? Delenn asks him to follow her. In Delenn's quarters, Lanier gives Ashan his departure information and says that he will turn himself in to Sheridan when Ashan is gone, saving his own honour by confessing Ashan's dishonourable conduct. Ashan protests, saying that will in turn bring shame upon their clan, and Lanier agrees, but that is what Ashan has done. He says that their clan's leaders made the decision to frame Sheridan without consulting the Grey Council, because they saw his destruction of the Black Star by manning an asteroid field and using a fake distress call as dishonourable, leading to the loss of many Minbari of their clan and some of Lanier's own family, we now discover. But he says that whether or not that was dishonourable, acting in a dishonourable fashion now will change nothing. Ashan disagrees and says that Lavelle was a martyr. The thief who stole Sheridan's link also arranged for the weapon to be found as Lavelle had instructed, all so that Sheridan could be entrapped. It turns out Lavelle and Ashan were clan brothers, and so by maintaining the charade, Ashan was seeking to protect his clan's honour. Justification enough for the lies, as Sheridan notes as he, Delenn, Garibaldi and the lawyer step out from the other room. Lanier was right, Ashan is not good at the cloak and dagger routine. The whole conversation has been recorded by Lanier so Sheridan can be cleared, but against his lawyer's advice and to Garibaldi's frustration, Sheridan will not go public. He notes that if it got out, it would disgrace Lanier's clan and by extension Lanier. Lanier nods in agreement. Sheridan proposes that Ashan be made to issue a statement about what really happened, but without any of the background as to his clan, leaving Lavelle's motivation one more mystery. Now there remains just one more matter of honour. Londo treating Veer as he should be treated for once, having told the court that if Veer goes, he goes, and bigging Veer up to his uncle to his utter astonishment. Veer's hangover is not helping his comprehension, nor is Londo's apparent invitation to his family to come and stay with him for a month on the station. He may be back on the source quite soon. Sheridan bumps into Ivanova and asks how the store's going, and she shows him the Babylon teddy she's holding, whose shirt is emblazoned with J.S., John Sheridan. Sheridan takes the bear and orders the entire store ripped out. Moments later, Keffer, call sign Zeta-1, investigates a UFO in local space. Sheridan spaced the bear. Harsh. It does, however, make a very nice thud on the windshield. Yes, I know, no wind in space, and a nice squeaky noise as it drifts off. The really funny attention to detail is how the HUD displays the teddy as a vector graphic and tracks its movements perfectly. Nice touch. And so it is left to drift into deep space. Quite an interesting one to rewatch, as I couldn't quite remember what the Ashan Lavelle link was before the episode got to that point that made the honour theme work. If I'm grasping it correctly, then the clan they and Lanier belong to is made up of more than just religious caste. That was what threw me out initially, because I tend to think of the caste as being quite self-contained, but I think that's because of the Grey Council groupings. I couldn't even tell you what Clan Delenn is actually. This really seems to be an episode that reflects the season opener, where a lot of focus was on Sheridan's war record and the impact that might have on the stations dealing with the Minbari. Here that comes quite close to becoming a reality, because the knock-on effect of the frame-up could have led to Sheridan's position becoming untenable. It is also revealed that whilst Minbari culture is predicated on honourable action and service, it's not beyond being corrupted and abused. Again, that potential for Minbari cultural norms to unravel has been hinted at in other episodes like A Voice in the Wilderness. This episode also shines a very stark light on Delenn's continued alienation by some of her own people, resulting in Lanier being handed a lot of responsibility for handling things in this episode. By the same token, Earth is quite prepared to hang Sheridan out to dry rather than anger the Minbari, and Julie Caitlin Brown's lawyer makes it clear that even if he wins, he could lose. The whole situation results in his own alienation from the affairs of the station, so that both he and Delenn have common ground. I remembered the moment of perfect beauty. It's one of those spiritual moments for the show that comes out of left field to make you look at things differently, and always intrigues me because JMS isn't a religious individual. I love the juxtaposition of this utterly run-down place in the station, with these beings lifting themselves far higher than their surroundings, with the enigma that is Kosh stood quietly by. I wonder if he'd heard their song before, which is what prompted him to bring Sheridan to them. So the other side of this episode is the Londo Veer Emporium thread. And I like this one too, because Londo, for all the change he's gone through in a short time, still treats Veer with respect and honour, and doesn't just ditch him for someone who might be better suited to his role. It's a very un-Centauri thing to do when you stop and think about it. It's almost a father-son sort of relationship, and it's nice to see that there is some depth to their relationship, even if a lot of this thread is being played for laughs, with Veer nursing his first hangover in the process. And so the Emporium with the less than subtle dig at Deep Space Nine, which is ironic given this episode is written by Peter David, who has authored a lot of Star Trek material. Very clever to have the Jurazi trying on a human mask because, well, it's fancy dress to him. And of course, it gives JMS a chance to space a teddy bear, because as with the JS in charge of the station, apparently he doesn't really do cute. So it's a good solid episode, and I particularly like Lanier taking a more assertive role in this one, plus the resolution by Sheridan is quite Sinclair-esque in recognising that Lanier was the one who needed his honour saving on this occasion, and in fact, in showing that he can act honourably, he perhaps reduces his own Starkiller status a little in the process. I wonder if anyone ever catches up with the thief. And with that thought, I shall leave you, as I really need to try and build my episode buffer back up again. I'm only 1 week ahead of myself at this point, which is making me uncomfortable. Catch you for the next one.